Ado, Water of Cadnor. On behalf of the Principe Sen Patrina, I must request we meet in parley. Agrasima. I will make this quick. I have heard some marvelous tales regarding your ventures in the Deerwood. In fact, you are the first dragon slayer I have ever met, outside of a grave. Some fools would seek to make a fortune by pilfering from one such as you.
He's done his research. Might as well hear him out.
I believe you have met such a fool. Captain Benweth of the Drake. Voxen of Ubilnet Merla. Careful, ship hunter. Mind that you do not confuse a useful skill set for a non-expendable one. My apologies. Rest assured, it will not happen again.
Apologies, Captain. Didn't mean it, really. We're up all night, you know, searching out our friend here. You've been at sea a while. Your mind starts playing tricks on you, aye? Well, mine plays tricks on others, too. Usually don't mean much. Maybe see a bit of shadow, hear a bit of tune. Not less a person sensitive. Like, say, a watcher.
Gelarde. Then that should make this easy. I am keen to show my rascal of a compatriot some much-needed humility. I thought perhaps you may care to as well.
For Auntie's, for... Do my job for me, friend. Hope you don't die in the effort.
Benweth's Drake took damage during the storm. Eventually he will need to dock for repairs, and when he does, Seraphin can find him for you. He is rather an unrefined creature, but he is a most skilled ship hunter, I assure you.
Unrefined? Begging your pardon, Captain, but I'd be the fucking model of the gentleman of fortune. As for Benweth, that sucker of squid tits be as predictable as the tide. I'd wager all my furriest bits that he'd set sail for Deadlight.
That would be felicitous indeed, as I believe the traitor Remaro hides there as well. I quite enjoy killing two men with a single bullet.
Wouldn't have even thought of it if you hadn't brought it up, sir. Now, I ain't hardly in any hurry to leave the fine company of the gentlemen of leisure, but the captain be right about me finding your mark. Adding to that, you sail into Fort Deadlight not knowing your innies from your outies, you might very well find the locals cannon fucking your boat to sodden splinters. Oh, you won't be regretting this, Watcher. At least so long as you keep us heavy in grog and light on the onions. Ugh, them dirty shit apples ain't never agreed with me, and I'll be suspecting they never will.
He's not sleeping near my berth, I promise you that much.
I sail now for Dunwich, my own safe port. I will await you there, should you be successful in schooling our wayward captain.
The ring of a bell comes to you on a cold wind. The ring comes again and again, until soon the air is full with the sound of 1,000 bells ringing all at once. You feel a resonance in your core, a bell ringing in tune with all the others. Something in you bends, then breaks, and you are borne away on the ringing tide, just another peal among the many. The tide of bells recedes. You lever yourself up onto your knees and realize you have been here before. You stand in Bareth's realm. You are alone. And then you are not. An indistinct figure stands before you, flickering between forms like a fire-cast shadow. A fixed, taunting grin. Bottomless black eyes. A yawning chasm in the earth. The aspects of Bareth, the Usher and the Pallid Knight, shift in and out of focus. And at their back, 4 indistinct shades hover. You feel an eternity stretch out behind each of them, reaching back to places so distant and yet so near you cannot comprehend their size. The shifting image of Bareth settles on the aspect of the Pallid Knight.
Watcher.
She intones. Her voice is the discordant clangor of gongs struck out of time.
I tasked you to discover Aethys's intentions. Tell me what you have learned.
The Pallid Knight knits her brows.
He does not seek to return to the beyond? Intriguing.
Her sickly pale skin pulls tight across the bones of her face, as if the shell of this aspect does not quite fit the impossible creature it contains. The figure nearest Bareth dissolves and reforms in the image of a thin-lipped, ancient crone, whose face has felt the melting kiss of fire. The goddess Wodika strides forward.
Does Aethys frighten you, Bareth? He should. Magran subdued Aethys's influence once before, and yet he returned.
From out of Wodika's shadow shuffles a hunched, bald man you recognize as the god Scan. His skin is mapped with swollen lash scars, and breath whistles through the ragged hole in his face where his nose once was. He does not speak, but stares up at Wodika with naked loathing plain on his ruined face. Wodika steeples her long, knob-jointed fingers.
We must annihilate Aethys now, before he makes a rash decision we cannot easily annul. A moon would do the job nicely.
Wodika says, and grins.
As if you could stop me.
The figure beside the aspect of Bareth flows forward in a swirling cloud of ash. The ash falls to the tiles and reveals a molten-skinned woman, leaning on a monstrous, wicked-edged broadsword. Magran's glowing lips curl in disdain.
We must find a solution to the problem of Aethys that is neither do nothing, nor destroy the world. I acted in haste during the Saints' War. You will not goad me into doing the same now. To move against him while his plans are unknown would be the height of foolishness. We must find wisdom in precaution.
Magran looks at you as one might a wayward gob of spit on one's shoe.
It is no business of yours what the gods decide.
Another of the silent figures steps forward, and the warm, golden light of a summer's afternoon spills across your face.
Let's all take a deep, calming breath. Perhaps cooler heads will prevail.
Behind Helia's words, you hear the soft coo of doves.
Aethys has been separated from us for too long. Isn't it possible he intends only to gather enough souls to reclaim his realm in the beyond? He should be welcomed.
You look up then into avian eyes. Through them, you see clouds of starlings converge and divide. Helia puts a feathered hand to her chest.
He wouldn't. Betrayal is not in his nature.
Scan shuffles forward.
Yes, yes. We should welcome Aethys's return to the fold. His gratitude we can leverage to cajole him into divulging his plot. Then, when he believes himself to be in our good graces, we do as Wedeka suggests, and crush him into the earth.
Scan pauses, inspecting you.
Ah, and here is the Watcher who wiped dear desperate Alice's mind. You could have let my followers help her kill the man who tormented her. But you did not.
Scan licks the ragged edge of his lipless mouth and grins, then turns to Helia.
I did not expect such a deliciously ruthless idea from you, Helia. I am impressed.
Helia's feathered crest stands on end.
You wretched little creature.
Your point is well made, little Watcher. If self-evident, Aethys has not been known to possess a vindictive nature. Indeed, he has occasionally been magnanimous to a fault. However, if we push him to the brink of reason, there is no telling what he may do. He is, as ever, unpredictable.
Something akin to fondness creeps into her voice. The Pallid Knight gestures for silence.
Aethys cannot be killed, but he may be subdued. Yet to do so will take immense power and time. Both stand in his favor.
Magran grits her black glass teeth.
That is why we must ascertain his plans before he has the chance to put them into motion.
She begins to pace. Her steps leave little trails of fire in her wake. Magran stops and balls her hands into flaming fists.
Even if we manage to destroy his current form, there is the possibility he could return, if he has not already absorbed all of his children.
The Pallid Knight casts a cold, cutting glare in Magran's direction.
Magran speaks too freely. That knowledge is beyond your ken, Watcher.
Wodeka waves the gods to silence.
Aethys gathers strength. His strength is a threat to us.
Her voice takes on a sharp, almost panicked edge.
There is no sensible answer to the question of a resurgent Aethys, other than decisive, final action.
Your opinion is unasked for and unnecessary, but noted nonetheless.
Though her tone is impassive, the banked fury in her eyes says well enough what she thinks of your interruptions.
We will act when it is appropriate to do so, and not before.
The Pallid Knight steps away from the half-circle of assembled gods. She pulls herself up to a great height. The words she speaks next come not from her mouth, but from all around you.
Follow him, Watcher.
The black of the Pallid Knight's irises expand until her eyes are as dark and cold as the void between stars. She bends down and brings her ghostly face level with your own.
Your debt to me remains unpaid.
She stares at you, unblinking. Like a needle drawn to a magnet, you are pulled toward her one compulsory step at a time. Helpless to resist, you tumble into her impossible eyes. You fall wildly, endlessly, unable to find your bearings or slow your spin. And in the distance, above, no, behind you, comes an insistent ringing. You angle yourself toward it, searching for the sound. A small silver bell appears just inches from your fingertips. You reach for it, straining to still its interminable ringing. The moment you touch it, your soul slams into your body with all the force of a fall from the top of the sky. You blink open your eyes and find yourself on the floor of your ship's cabin, alone.
Can do. All right.
My lord, what do you require? I was the steward of your keep at Cad Nua, my lord. Long before your time, I had my soul bound to a throne of Ardraban. And for nearly 200 years, I felt Cad Nua and the comings and goings within it like an extension of myself. It is a strange connection to lose. Still, it would be unseemly for me to complain of loss to you, my lord. With Cadnua in ruins, there was little purpose in waxing sentimental over the rubble. I was able to salvage enough of your treasure and wealth to afford the purchase of the Defiant and the hire of a small crew. Unfortunately, that consumed the remainder of your once considerable assets. Under the circumstances, I hoped you would not object. I suggest we proceed to Neketaka, my lord. It is the largest city in Deadfire, and we shall be better able to get our bearings there.
With every soul, my lantern's getting heavier and heavier in my hand. I did, recently with you. You were walking the depths of the ocean, but you didn't drown. And in your hand, you gripped the key to Aora's end. I've seen stars wreathing a statue's brow, and souls flowing like tears over gleaming Audra. And then my god headed into the heart of the storm, where he could find the darkness. Tell me what's on your mind? We talking during the Saints' War, or after he died? Well, before he died, he was still Aethys as the majority of my brethren know him. Aethys embodied a human, and when that human got blown to bits, we all believed Aethys died. And I think a part of him did, the part he'd most closely woven into living flesh, the part that represented life, and rebirth after death. Which means the part of him that could have survived, that stormed across the Deadfire seas, was the side more aligned with obsidian, rot, and falling away. That which is death. I really only know what my folks taught me. Aethys embodied Saint Widwin, but during the war, he got blown to bits. That's the thing about human bodies. Eventually, they all gotta die. As the god of rebirth, of course, Aethys would be coming back. But where I differ from my family's view, and my High Priestess's view, is that I've studied the apotheosis of Gone. And I know all about the backside, the downward swoop, the death part of the cycle of life. Obsidian, rot, regrowth. What's gone can never be again. What comes back is changed. Always. Even if what comes back is a god. Then you mean gone. Sure, maybe my god still answers to Aethys as well. Why not? But Aethys died, and death requires change. He ain't what he was. Not in exactly the same way. That's why I think his other aspect, his darkness in the light, is what's burning brighter in him now. No need to fiddle-foot around. I'm listening. Reckon not. I don't take it too far. My ma caught me once necking in the Merkberry stalks. And of course I fight. But I've not done much more than that. And I don't use the real ugly words. Sometimes the feelings, they just come tumbling right out of me. Gods darn it. I'm glad we talked.
Hey, Vela. I wish you'd maintained my story in front of Vanessa and the others. I didn't enjoy deceiving them, but it seemed simpler than the alternative. Believe me, I take no pleasure in duplicity. After we parted, I set out to destroy the Leaden Key. It's controlled us for too long. I wanted to free Kith from it. So for 5 years, I've been tracking down Leaden Key circles, searching for the places where they operate in secret, trying to undo them. The task has been more difficult than I anticipated. I don't think I fully understood the weight of the decisions I would have to make, or the burden of living with them. It was much easier when I only had to follow someone else's lead. My father's, Theos's, yours. After we defeated Theos, I thought the hard part of undoing his work would be tracking down the Leaden Key's members and operations. Perhaps this would be easier with an example. I went to a village in Old Valia, a run-down backwater river place. Aye, right home like it was. Centuries ago, the Leaden Key had intervened to end some heretical cult. The details were lost, but what had endured was a practice of ritual bloodletting. A gruesome, pointless tradition. At every full moon, the villagers would feed the soil with their blood. No one, young or old, sick or hale, was exempt. The village priest administered the practice. Grim old fellow, Reminded me of Theos.
Wicked El Bunbag, 'tis what the lad means.
He was a tyrant. I was certain that if the villagers were free of his influence, they'd be free from the bloodletting too. So I arranged for him to have an accident. The old man died, and the villagers were terrified. They were convinced his death was an ill omen. They blamed it, and every other mishap that befell them, on their lack of faith. So they began bloodletting every week, turning on their neighbors for giving too little. Instead of a handful dying each year, a few perished every week. I had to do something, didn't I? I keep wondering what I might have done differently, or how I could have known better. Then at least I'm in good company. I should get some rest. It's been a long day, and you've given me a lot to think about. Ah, that. I'm looking for an old Leaden Key sect. I've found several references, but I want to be sure. Please, let me go over my notes again. Then I promise I'll tell you everything.
The Children of the Dawn Stars. I wondered if we'd run into them down here. There's someone I used to know. Just an old friend. Came out here to settle with them last I heard. Maybe we should ask around, see if she's still out here. Might be she can help us. All right. We used to, you know. She was real loud, too. Used to have to cover her mouth or she'd get the dog howling in the next room. I knew you'd understand. You're gonna like her. I got a good feeling.
Ahoy, Captain. Truth be told, Ferrante half expects us to get our asses blown out of the water at Fort Deadlight. Fortunately for you, I have this bad habit of beating the odds. Of course, I do that by way of good old traditional chicanery. And the most important part of any hornswoggle? Solid planning. Well, that and surviving. Valian made originally. Piled them stones up a few centuries back, but gave it up when the fishmen wouldn't leave them be. Hard to defend against Wilder crawling up out of your crappers. Captain Aldiz claimed it a few years back. Fucking filthy from bow to stern, and she had her lads and lasses cleaning fish shit out of the floorboards for months. A couple of them thought it might be better sailing elsewhere and left in the night. Aldiz tracked them down quick as you like, took their heads, and fixed them into little lanterns for the front gate. Called them Fort Deadlight's Deadlights. They say she ain't had a deserter since. Tad cruel for my taste. But I admit to admiring the wordplay. Funny thing about it being a fort means it ain't a boat. Means it don't have to worry about the weight of cannons are storing honking big balls. Guns they got crowning that castle put a hole in your poop deck before you've sighted land. Fort itself be floor-to-ceiling rum-sodden fools, so that be going for us. But Aldi's keeps the crew on the walls sharp and sober. One blast of their horns and Deadlight's locked up tight as an endearing mugger-night. We'll stay that way too, till any unfamiliar ships have been shot to shit and shot again. She's sharp as shit, that one. Tongue, mind, and ears alike. Sailed out of Deerwood or Adir one. Knows her knots, and how to crew a ship that won't turn sour. The words ring out among the Principe, more than you'd think for new blood. Part of that's her fierce support of freedom. From slavers, from the empires, from the Juana's caste system even. The rest a lenient hand. Step out of line and Ferrante's got your old crew up for lashes. Aldiz, though, she's, let's say there's a reason she attracts limp-cocked nut twists like Benwith. Can't say I much approve of a lack of regard for our traditions, but, Can't say I don't share her vexations with Ferrante and the old garden either. The Principe's no fleet. More a mishmash of fiercely independent captains. A lot of them take to one another like sharks to krakens. But we be bound by the slippery slip knots of tradition. Even those bucking tradition cooperate for protection against our enemies. Many of the old guard have died off, though. And the new blood flooding in be, less the civil sort. I did say contacts, didn't I? Contact would be more accurate, in the singular. A lass by the name of Siri. Been running the same circles for years, doldrums and fair winds. We're never family, but never on the wrong ends of arms, neither. Might have, shaken the sheets a few months back. Regardless of how she feels about me, there's no love lost betwixt her and Benwith, that's for damn certain. Ugh, random? What do you take me for, Captain? Well, I can't say as you're entirely wrong. Deadlight's a tough coconut to crack, but if not cracking, what are nuts for? Smart play for crashing any party involves scavenging yourself up an invite, and then dressing to impress. No, Captain, they do not. Looking the part in this case means hoisting colours identifying us as Principe. Don't have to tell you how dangerous such a bit of fabric can be if the wrong person catches you flying it. Aye, Captain. Looking forward to watching you work.
Agrasima, Casita, for taking me on.
You're far from home, farmer. How did you make it all this way in your... little boat?
Why do we gotta be farmers just 'cause we're from Deerwood?
Are you a farmer?
Yeah, but you can't just assume. We got rabble-rousers, too.
I'm the harbor master, Kaoha. I must ask your reason for docking in Neketaka. Yeah, you do need to see someone, truly. I think it's the animancers in the spire you're looking for. To help with your head.
Show them. Show them what you are.
I've heard enough. There's no room for you in Neketaka Harbor. Get back on your ship and head back to open sea.
I will help you.
What's the matter with you? What are you doing? If you're trying to scare us with some cipher mischief, save the purple flames for the tribes of the Outer Islands.
Now.
What? What is this?
Run for it!
So much for discretion.
Not a problem.